The toxicity, every sign has their own toxic trait, and I've kind of come to realize that changing, becoming better, evolving doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna stop having this trait that people seem as, or people deem toxic, and rather I'm going to learn how to react. My most toxic trait is my attachment to my past, my trauma, and my projection. I feel personally attacked right now.
But the most beautiful girls when they're, 21, 22, 23, they'd always be dating some normal looking dude.
They're beautiful with brains, right? Because whether they have good intentions or not, they're at least going to be, open to the opportunity of choosing to be with someone that will create a net positive experience, even if they don't know. Whatever performance I'm putting on, I need to stick to this performance. And so I feel like a lot of people wouldn't be honest in that. How many hearts have you broken this summer? Because I can tell you, I've probably broken a lot. And it breaks my heart in retrospect. It even broke my heart at the time. But I was a total fuck girl. There's so much trauma that happens. Women get paid to go to parties because they don't want to go to the parties, and that's atmosphere modeling. So what they do is they're gonna get paid to go to these events just so that they'll fill up the room. That's all that it is.
So the problem is, nowadays, with social media and everything, right? Every girl is taught, be like Beyonce, right? TikTok video, female empowerment,
right?
Be a strong, independent woman. And I'm like, great, right? But the problem is, girls often want this boss bitch attitude, and they want to take the masculine attitude from the boss, right? But they don't want the exact.
I feel bad saying this, but I think he's smart enough to know that he's actually pandering to a very common denominator, the lowest common. Being high value doesn't mean being inconsiderate and being an asshole, right? Being high value, who wants to pay a lot for an asshole? That's not high value. That's not valuable to me, being a douchebag and cheating and all of these things. That's not valuable.
Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us. I'm your host, Zach Evans, and first of all, thank you to all of our listeners. We have been getting a ton of engagement over the last couple months, and we got to thank all of you guys out there for that. Today, we got a special guest on the show. This is McKenna. McKenna, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, your name, what you do, and your star sign.
I'm McKenna. I'm a caregiver and a writer by trade, and I'm a Taurus.
Taurus. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Why is that?
I've dated a couple of Taurus in my life. Uh-huh. Very, very fun. And also very bad for my mental health.
Touche.
You guys have cost me a lot of money in therapy.
I get it. We can be a little
You're not supposed to be toxic.
A little bit of a force, and sometimes
that's an interesting way to put it, a force.
Some people, they can handle what's it called? When you're flying in a jet, the G's.
The G-force.
The G-force, right? Some people can handle the G-force, and some people, they need it a little lower. But I realize that, without having to sacrifice yourself, if you can find someone that, number one, the toxicity, every sign has their own toxic trait. And I've kind of come to realize that changing, becoming better, evolving doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to stop having this trait that people seem as, or people deem toxic, and rather I'm going to learn how to react to the situations excuse me. I got a little nervous.
All good. Well, what's an example of a trait that you think you have that is toxic?
I am.
By the way, I don't judge. I used to be extremely toxic.
I would say, let's think. I'm not thinking because I can't think of any. I'm thinking because I'm trying to pick.
I see.
I guess probably my most toxic trait is my attachment to my past, my trauma, and my projection. I like to project. I overanalyze, and that's both a blessing and a curse. It's a super double-edged sword.
I see.
Yeah, so I think my attention to detail sometimes causes me to overanalyze, almost in an OCD, kind of like a compulsive way. So
I see.
if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm a Pisces.
Okay.
Which, ironically, I have no characteristics of a Pisces. We're supposed to be very emotional and in our feelings. I'm like the opposite. I'm very just like, and I went through a very toxic fuckboy era. I'm a recovering fuckboy. Yeah.
Oh, good
now
for
I'm
you.
very shine romantic.
Good for you. I could say the same with myself.
Back in my villain era, I was very toxic. But not like these Gen Z amateur fuckboys you see nowadays.
Right.
You know, with the bird scooters and the. You know.
You were more of a vet, more of a professional.
What does
that look like?
Y'all fall for guys that have beds that touch 2 walls. Like, do not know what a nightstand is. Like, stop dating these losers. Like, I don't understand.
I feel personally attacked right now. Thinking of my ex who had a really big TV before he had a couch.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah. Or you'll meet guys that it's like, they drive some like fancy car and they live in like a shitty apartment, and you're like, this doesn't match.
Because it's the manager's model.
It's either their friend's car, or they spend all their money leasing a car and they have none left over for the rent. And eventually the girl will figure out that you don't have money. It is what it is.
Oh yeah, of course. And it's either going to be through what she can see or your attitude.
Yeah.
You know.
How old are you? You're very confusing.
I'm so confusing. I know. Yeah. I'm. How old do you think I am?
Personality, you seem like you're like 30, but you look like you're like 20 with a fake ID. I don't know whether to talk about investing or doing Molly at Disneyland. It's very confusing.
I'm turning 28 in April.
28?
Yeah.
You look young.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What's the oldest and the youngest that you've dated?
Oh.
In relation to your age at the time.
Okay. When I was 19. When I was 19, I dated a 32-year-old. Okay. And he kind of had the mind of a child in retrospect. And then in terms of youngest, dating wise, you know, I've had flings that were young. So like maybe 21 or 22. And they acted a little more mature. Compared to the older 32-year-old guy when I was 19. Yeah, ironically. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So that doesn't surprise me about you, because despite all of your obvious red flags, being a Taurus,
right.
you seem to have an understanding of a self-awareness and more intelligent understanding of the world, I would say, than most people we have on. And okay, so I owned a company in the modeling industry for a decade. And we used to call this thing hot guy phase, where all the new models, when they're 18, 19, 20, right, they'd always be dating some young hot guy, right? And these guys looked exactly the same. Like right. The TikTok hair, dangly earring.
Sure.
They're literally like clones of each other.
Right.
We can't tell them apart.
Right.
But the most beautiful girls, when they're, 21, 22, 23, they'd always be dating some like normal looking dude. Right. Like some dude, maybe dad bod, maybe
right.
like 30, 32. Somebody who, like, if you put on a brown shirt and dropped off your UPS package, like, you wouldn't be surprised. But it would be someone who's extremely intelligent or ambitious or successful, usually a little bit older.
Sure. I mean, I would say that if they're beautiful with brains. Mm-hmm. Right? Because whether or not they have good intentions or not, they're at least going to be, open to the opportunity of choosing to be with someone that will create a net positive experience, mm-hmm. even if they don't end up together at the end.
Yeah.
I feel like older people tend to generally be a little more considerate.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
You seem like you've experienced your share of toxic LA guys.
I wish I could say I didn't.
Let me ask you this. So I grew up with a very religious family. So I was very nice guy, treat everybody very politely. I was taught to, every girl said, "You're such a sweetheart." And then they would friend zone me, date my friends, cheat on me, whatever. And then I got so sick of it, I turned into the biggest fuckboy, sociopath, narcissist asshole on the planet. And now I've kind of graduated from that stage, and I'm kind of like, I can see the whole picture now.
Right, I love that.
And I've always wondered, because when I would meet girls as a fuckboy, I was always a very honest fuckboy. I would say, hey, I don't want a relationship. Right. And they would never believe me. And I'm like when you start dating a fuckboy, do you kind of know he's a fuckboy in the back of your mind, but you're just attracted to it because it's exciting and fun? Or is it you think he's a sweet, nice guy and then you get tricked by it? Like, how does that work?
It depends on your experience.
Okay.
Because for me, at this stage, if you had fuckboy was like one of my types like 5 months ago. Okay. I knew what they were. Okay. I knew what fuckboy. I was fully aware.
You're going into the lines then. You know there are lines in there.
I know everything. You don't need to just, yes, I know you don't want a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship with you either, right? It was after my breakup, just like you, that I actually decided to see the world burn myself, and I broke a lot of hearts myself. So in that time, that's when I was like, fuckboy's a type. I know what type that is. But prior to that, when you're younger and less experienced and more naive, then it comes across as charming, because I would say maybe even the way that like media or Hollywood or society kind of like depicts the chase and like the allure of the chase and that just kind of this unspoken thought that everybody wants to be chased, and people usually say that about men, right? Is like they think that because I reject them, then that means that I want them, or they want me to chase them, which is totally inaccurate, I would say, most of the time, unless the girl is incredibly toxic. But I would say
I have a story about that.
Yeah. But I would say that, it really depends on your experience. Have you been exposed? Your exposure, not even your experience, like your exposure. Have you seen this before? If you have, then you're going to know exactly what to expect. Now it's a pattern. If you haven't, you might get screwed over. And if you have, and you know what to expect, but you choose to be willfully ignorant, then, you're going to actively choose to not see it coming. And at the end, you will have known you saw it coming the entire time. And it's just a vicious cycle of fuckboys. So, but my heart goes out to fuckboys. I know what it feels like to just want to watch the world burn around you.
Well, it's not even that. The reality is, and I didn't realize it until I got out of the fuckboy stage, I could look back at my former self, is every fuckboy has a villain origin story.
Right.
And every fuckboy has been fucked over in his past. And because of that, there's this need for validation and acceptance.
Right.
And because of that, he feels the need to prove to himself and to others that girls like him. And that's how it was for me. It felt like every girl, I needed to prove that she likes me. Okay, well, the only way to prove that, if she hooks up with me, okay, now I feel validated.
But that's all I wanted.
Yeah, that is what it is. Because if you think about it, people think it's about the sex. It's not about the sex. In fact, you could have way more sex by just getting in a relationship. Totally. And then just like having sex 3 times a day with the fucking girl you're dating. Totally. But it's about the validation of I'm good enough. See, I'm good enough.
Yeah, I would say that that's definitely not a fuckboy specific thing, actually. I went through that myself. I think that's really prevalent, actually, for all types of people. Women too. I feel like a lot of women, there's so much pressure to just be good, be a good girl, even though we want to, live our lives. But there's still this like underlying pressure of like, whatever performance I'm putting on, I need to stick to this performance. And so I feel like a lot of people wouldn't be honest in that. How many hearts have you broken this summer? Because I can tell you, I've probably broken a lot. And it breaks my heart in retrospect. It even broke my heart at the time. But I was a total fuck girl, I guess, is like a good way to say it. Like after my last long-term relationship, I was always in long-term relationships, moved to LA. I was going to all the clubs and all the afters and all of this and blah, 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 blah. And it was just 100 miles per hour. And I decided love hurt me so badly that I'm going to be one of the guys. I'm not going to wait for a guy to come up to me at the bar. I'm not going to do that. I took everything that I wanted with zero remorse. And that ended up, hurting me later. It makes me sad because, I am still a sensitive person, and it was just a phase that I was going through. But fuck boys, that experience is not, if that's the case, then there's so many fuck boys. So many people are fuck boys if that's what it is that they're craving is validation. So they use sex to be able to get that, which is just, it's sad on just like.
It is, and it's kind of a weird thing where at the same time it's like, do I regret it, right? People ask you, do you regret things in life? And yeah, to some extent I do, but also I think I had to go through that phase to finally figure out, oh shit, I'm good. I don't need the validation anymore. Okay, I get it. I get girls. I'm fine. Like, I don't have to like how many girls do you have to hook up with before it's, yo bro, I hooked up with this girl. Oh man, she's hot. Like before that's just like, who cares? Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I think for girls, sometimes it's slightly different, where it's that we still have, and not for everybody, but for at least the specific subset of women that I'm speaking about, including myself, where I think that I just lost my train of thought.
It's just, I actually want to get back to something.
Okay.
When you mentioned sometimes you reject guys and they think that's a invitation to keep going almost. Right. I never understood this until the first like really beautiful girl that I dated. And it was funny because, my friends are asking, oh, who's this new girl you're dating? What's her Instagram? Blah, blah, blah. Show them the Instagram. And one of my buddies is like, yo, I met that girl. She's a huge bitch. All this stuff. And I was confused because I'm like, she's like the biggest sweetheart I know. Like she's like an absolute sweetheart. And I didn't understand it till one night we go out and it's her friend's birthday. We end up at like Warwick or some shit. Mm-hmm. And this guy comes up to try to hit on her. And I see her like very brutally reject this guy, where it's kind of like a thanks back turn, right? And I remember thinking, okay, what would you expect her to do? Like, be nice to this guy, have a fucking 30-minute conversation where you're bored as hell because he's some like loser guy, and then you have to reject him at the end anyway, and now he's angry and butthurt because you rejected him, and now you like have some dude following you around the club. Like,
yeah.
Isn't it better to just fucking rip the Band-Aid off at the beginning? I would rather have a girl be honest with me, than the other way around.
I would say yes. In this context, it depends, because girls are being opportunists in the same way that men are in those scenarios. Men want to use women, and the means of getting them is through getting whatever, buying them things, getting them alcohol, getting them on the table, the bottles, blah, 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 and they want something in return. Mm-hmm. So, the girls walk in and they know that men want that. And so they're like, you know what? I have my own mission. All these guys want to use me, right? So, hey, if he's going to buy me a drink, I'm going to let him buy me a drink because I want a drink. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like, I know I'm going to walk in there and someone's going to try to use me for my body, for my time, whatever it is. And they're going to think that a drink is enough. Well, they should know that I know that that's going to happen. And because I know that's going to happen, I'm going to go in there into this really hostile environment, and I'm just going to be grabby as well. I'm just going to be grabby as well, and I'm just going to take what I want too. I don't go into a club with a big loving heart. I go into a club with like major bitch face, don't talk to me, buy my friend a drink, or get the hell out of here. It's
survival of the fittest.
But that's super how it is here too. But in terms of like the guys following you after that like clear rejection, you can be super, super clear, and then the entire night they're just kind of like in your vicinity, like a 10-foot vicinity, like all night.
One time my friends from Wisconsin came up and like visited me, and I like took them out, and they like, I love them to death, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And one of my friends like talking to this girl, and like I can see, I'm like at the table, I can see, I'm like, okay, she's not into him. Like the body language is so obvious to me. And she like leaves or whatever. And he's like, yeah, she went to the bathroom. She said she's coming right back. I'm bro, she's not coming back. And then it was like 20 minutes later, he's like looking for her. I'm like, bro, she's not coming back. No, like, this is an excuse. Like, how do you not read this? Like, this is basic social intelligence 101.
I think it's not a classy environment. It's not a well thought out. People don't go there with these wonderful intentions. In fact, it's like a devil's playground. If you think about it, like how many wholesome Warwick parties have you been to?
I think it's though what I like about it in a way, and I don't club hardly at all anymore. I like house parties. I like more like stuff like that. But it is like a microcosm of like I almost feel like it takes us back to like caveman days, and it's just like people just kind of like go for what they want. Everybody's kind of drunk. Like guys are just trying to talk to the hottest girls. Girls are trying to like extract the most resources out of guys.
Exactly.
It's almost like back to like literally like caveman days.
And that's a really great way to put it. It's really simple.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. When you go to a club, there's an expectation on the both male and women's parts. Generally, you walk in with this expectation. If you meet great people, that's wonderful. But most people that, especially in LA, that go out, it's to make an appearance and it's for something. People don't just do stuff for no reason nowadays, right? There's something that someone's gonna get. Who's gonna be there? You know what I mean? That's usually what it is. Who's gonna be there, or what afters are we gonna take the hot girls we're gonna meet here to afterward? You know, and so
you understand the club scene.
Yeah, that's literally, and it's just scouting the whole time. And so the women that have been in the scene enough know that, and so that's why they walk in and don't have a problem saying, yeah, you can buy me a drink. No, we're not going to go home. I'm not going to go home with you. No, I don't even have to talk to you. And if you still want to buy me a drink, that's fine. That's your prerogative, but I just set my boundary, right? And I'm not a bitch for doing that, because why do you want to buy me a drink? You want to buy me a drink because you're a nice guy and you think, you know, I might be a nice girl? No, that's not what it is. Not at the clubs, you know, and at least, if that might not be true all the time, but that's the safest perspective to have.
I have this saying that's it's all fair in love and war.
Right.
It's like if you go to war, you can't say, oh, they're cheating because they're like hiding in the trees and shooting us. It's like, no, it's war, bitch. Like,
right.
And that's how, like, because I used to, when I first moved here, I was very jaded because I got like culture shock of like, oh yeah, people are like kind of full of shit. Everybody's trying to like lie to you.
Everyone's selling themselves.
And now I'm kind of like, hey, it's the fucking jungle. This is LA. It's the hardest place in the world to date. It's like if you play a video game, it's like level 100 final boss. But it's like, I want to live in a place where it's like the top level. Like I like the excitement of the trying to reach the top, and everybody's hustling and grinding. And yeah, some people are full of shit, but you fucking learn how to read them. And it's just like this environment.
I love that the speed, the time, like the kind of like, the tempo, I guess. It's fast paced. It's a really fast paced. There's a lot of energy. It's really high energy, you know, super high energy, and to the point where you're almost in your own bubble of sorts. No matter how in LA and all these parties, you've almost now created a new weird little bubble that's in the middle of everything, you know, this really strange cliquey microcosm where only you can come, she can't go unless she pays $100 kind of a
Oh, you can bring her. What's their Instagram? Trust me, I was a promoter for like 5 months. I hated it.
Wow, okay.
And I mean, I can't tell you how, because I thought it'd be fun. Don't get me wrong, it was fun. You get laid a lot, whatever. Right. But it's not like you're really partying the whole time. You're just like, oh, I got to get these people in. Hey, we need another bottle. Where's the fuck's waitress? Like, oh, she said she brought her fat friend.
You have to deal with problems.
Then she got mad at me because I told her not to bring the friend. She brought her anyway. The door guy doesn't let her in. It's not my fault. I told you not to bring her. Like, I don't make the rules. Right. It is what it is.
Yeah. And then you don't get paid enough for that.
And that,
yeah, and then it's not fun anymore. And then you're like, why don't I just go to my friend's table instead?
And I love like waking up early, working on my business. I'm more of that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I looked at the promoter life like, man, that looks great. And yeah, it's flashy, but at the end of the day, it was like not fulfilling.
It's not fulfilling, and it's exhausting. And the people that you're around are not fulfilling, and they're exhausting. I'd never worked as a promoter, but I was a waitress for a strip club in Portland when I first turned 18. And I never danced myself, but that was gnarly. It was an 18 and up after hours. So but I would say that like the allure of like party, club all the time, it's almost like if you seen like Ender's Game or like Ready Player One, you know how they're in their fake VR, blah blah blah, and they take it off and they are like, you know, old and broken, decrepit and obese and whatever, and like they can't move anymore because their body's atrophied from sitting there for so long. That's almost how it felt like for me when I got out of the party scene. Was like every night I hated, you know what I hated? I hated coming home at like 7 or 8 while everyone was getting up to go to work. I hated seeing people up and ready for their days when I was exhausted and like, you know, probably like coming down from drugs or drinking or something, just like in a really bad headspace. And that to me was like, once I stopped partying, which I had to really just remove myself completely from everybody. I don't talk to literally anyone. I cut everyone off. And after I did that, then I started having days again where I was like, oh, the sun's up. I can go take a walk to the grocery store, and then, later tonight I can go have dinner, and I'm not going to be feeling strung out and depressed. And in drama, there's so much drama that happens. People in the club scenes live off of drama. Like, otherwise it's boring. There's always got to be some kind of chaos. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm curious, how have you experienced the whole sugar daddy scene in LA at all? Have you tried it? Do you have friends who have tried it?
I have friends who have tried it. I've been like curious about it. No, I've never been on like actual sugar dates before, but I have done like atmosphere modeling. So basically they'll just pay you. Don't worry, I don't look like this when I do it. But they pay you to just, fill up a party. Or, there's a dinner or something and we need to fill up seats, things like that. And I've only done it with girlfriends, but there was never any sex involved.
Yeah. That is a misconception. People think that atmosphere modeling is either fake or like, oh no, but they have to have sex. I'm like, no, I know a lot of girls, they literally just go out.
Women get paid to go to parties because they don't want to go to the parties, and that's atmosphere modeling. So what they do is they're going to get paid to go to these events just so that they'll fill up the room. That's all that it is. And they do that for award shows. Like they do that for, all the big award shows on TV when they have people fill up. When someone walks away, someone fills in their space. It's kind of the same idea where if you got a bunch of, you're having a business meeting and there's a bunch of men here and they're all older and not very nice to look at, and maybe there are a few women that might be a little uncomfortable to be there, it would be really convenient to have atmosphere models, which are girls that are paid to go and look like they're having a good time at your party, and you don't have to have sex with people, and you can also meet people and have sex with them not for money at these parties. It's really just, it's a gig where you go and pretend to have a good time. You can even have a good time. Sometimes you just get paid to have a good time. You know? But that's about as close as I've personally gotten to that.
Interesting.
Just because, my family is third generation has been here. So I'm the third generation, I guess. My grandpa came here in 95. And so we're pretty
From where?
Boston.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we're pretty rooted in LA, and it's a little bit more conservative. So I would probably just not want to.
Yeah, I'm the same way. My parents are from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I got accused of being a sugar daddy once. I've never done it. But
it doesn't sound like an insult to me.
It was
you look like you take care of women. You're very generous.
So I was raised very chivalrous, right? My dad is old school. He told me, if you take a girl on a date, I'm fucking paying for it, right? If I'm walking on the sidewalk, I'm walking on the roadside. So if a car comes, and stop the car with one hand, protect my girl with the other. Unless it's a G-Wagon, then it's like, use the girl as a human shield, protect myself,
of course,
administer CPR later, save the day. Not all heroes wear capes.
Sure.
And so if I'm traveling, which I like to travel a lot, and I'm going to Europe or Australia or Asia or something, I'm usually taking the girl I'm dating, and I'm paying for the whole thing. Like I would feel weird as a man being like, hey, here's a Venmo request. Did you get the Venmo request for the $87 for the Airbnb? I would just feel weird about that. And so my friend, she's like a master level sugar baby. She has 10 sugar daddies, and it's like an entire business for her.
Right.
And in front of all my friends, she's like, Zach, you're a sugar daddy. And she goes, Zach, every guy pays for girls in one way or another. Maybe it's drinks, maybe it's dinners, maybe it's trips, maybe it's bags. She's like, there's just high class and low class sugar daddies, but everybody's a sugar daddy. Oh,
sure. Well, if you put it in that way, I mean, sure. Could see that. That makes sense. But it's definitely mutually, there's a mutual benefit that you get from, men may provide in one way, but women definitely provide So that's why that whole 50-50 thing also doesn't really make so much sense to me as a more traditional woman myself.
Okay, so you typically like traditional relationships?
Yeah, I do. It's just easier for me. Okay, everyone can do whatever the hell they want, right? As a woman, my choice is I prefer to be in more traditional relationships. That doesn't mean there can't be two incomes. That doesn't mean, it's not like this by the book has to be done this way. But there are things I like to do, and there are things that some men like to do, and I prefer to be, with someone that it works. I like to be a homemaker. I love to cook. I want to clean up after my partner. I like to be that kind of like traditional wife, but at the same time, I'm not, I'm a modern person, a modern woman. And so it's not going to be black and white, but I do like the traditional gender roles. I was raised with the traditional gender roles. Do I think that everyone should be able to have their own things that they can feel edified and proud of themselves for? Absolutely. Do I think people should rely on each other? No. However, for me personally, I like the feeling of there being like a protector and a nurturer. Like for me, and those aren't mutually exclusive to each other, right? That's kind of like the main role is like you always like look up and you both feel safe, because those happen to be things that you want, is to feel like there is this protection. And for a lot of men that are more in traditional relationships, they want to feel nurtured. And for me, that I just personally prefer that. I've tried the paying half of the rent, me having a full-time job, them having a full-time job, and I distance myself when that happens. Because it just doesn't feel like a relationship to me anymore. It almost just feels like a roommates that have sex sometimes, because we're not going to do it for long, because we're probably resenting each other at this point. But no judgment to anybody who has whatever, however, with the whole feminism issue happening, where it's like, oh, as a feminist, you must act this way, totally just defeats the whole purpose of feminism in the first place. So I, as myself, McKenna, I prefer more traditional relationships because that's where I feel safest and more comfortable, and where I feel like it's more sustainable for myself and my family in the long term. I also feel like it's a little more organized, but that's also not true for everybody. But for me personally, it kind of comes with this built-in structure that's a little bit helpful, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So the problem is nowadays with social media and everything, right? Every girl is taught, be like Beyonce, right? TikTok videos, female empowerment,
right?
Be a strong, independent woman.
Right.
And I'm like, great, right? But the problem is girls often want this boss bitch attitude, and they want to take the masculine attitude. I'm a boss, right? But they don't want the
responsibility.
Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean, yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And it's like, okay, you want to be a boss? Cool. Go work 12-hour days. Go, when something goes wrong, you're the one that's waking up at 3 a.m. and fixing the problem.
Right.
Or you can say, okay, I want to take the more feminine role. But the problem is also on the flip side, guys or this new breed of guys is just pussy. It's just like, they're just kind of wimpy, and they watch 3 Andrew Tate videos. And they're like, I am the alpha.
Okay, that I will not put up with.
And I'm like, what are you the alpha of? The fucking Wendy's? Are you the alpha of the Wendy's that you're a cashier at? Like, you can't just proclaim yourself the alpha.
That is my instant, what is that Men in Black memory eraser? That literally erases my memory. If you mention, what is it, Top G? If you're Top G. I just get that click and I'm just like, oh. Turns around and walks in. Instantly. Because the thing is Andrew Tate is like Scientology. Andrew Tate takes.
I don't agree with you 100%.
Well, hear me out. Not fully, but in the analogy that I'm using is what I can respect about both of these things, right? Andrew Tate and Scientology.
Okay.
What they've done. What is similar is that, in my opinion, is that it seems like there have been these practices and these like basic like psychological rules and teachings and this basic education that has been repackaged and sold. So all of this free knowledge that doesn't cost a dime of monetarily or your ego or your dignity or anything, free knowledge is now being repackaged and sold to you, the consumer, when it was free everywhere. For example, mind over matter, right? Knowing that you have more control of your reality than blah, blah. That's not owned by anybody.
Correct.
That basically they take people and entities like those take these
the concepts.
Yeah, they take these concepts and dilute it, and they almost feed or not feed off of they're predators, and they might not have started that way. That's the thing too, is they might not have totally could have started with good intentions, but once you start to deify yourself, it's predatorial, because now you're going to start feeding on people's pain and you're going to take advantage of them. And so the reason that I'm saying this is because I think that Andrew Tate has valuable things to say. He has said valuable things before. Do I think he's valuable? No. But do I think he has had valuable things to say? Yes. And that's why he's so dangerous. Because all you need to do is, in all of this insanity, you have to sprinkle in a few very, very valid things that resonate with people. And that's how cults happen. And that's how you get those goggles, those rose-colored goggles, or you just get jaded, because you're like, well, this is true. So if this is true and I believe that to my core, then I naturally have this trust, this idea of trust that is already built.
And the problem too is, like, because I would say I agree with actually probably about 70-80% of what Andrew Tate says. And then there's things where I'm like, wait, you took that too far. And like, even sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if you believe this, or you're just doing this because it gets clicks and it's controversial.
Exactly.
And like when I remember he said one time, he was like, oh, if a man cheats on a woman, it's okay because high value men can have multiple women. But I'm like, if you really believe that, wouldn't you want the high value man to be honest with the girl and say, hey, I want to have multiple girls, and you can have multiple guys, and she can have the choice then to either agree with that or disagree, versus like, why would you have to go behind their back if you're really like this high value guy or whatever?
Yeah, that's
and I'm like, okay, I think you took it too far, but I almost feel like he knows that, but he just knows it's going to get more clicks if he kind of does the crazier thing.
Really sadly, I feel bad saying this, but I think he's smart enough to know that he is actually pandering to a very common denominator, the lowest common denominator. And that's what politicians do, right? They pander to the lowest common denominator. I care about the masses, right? It's not about quality, it's about quantity.
But then also, I think at some point it's like, all right, if you're an adult and you're going to let somebody influence you, at some point, it's your personal responsibility to be like, let me use my own fucking brain instead of just fucking following what some dude told me on YouTube. And like, at some point, like, there is part of me that's like, if you get fucking scammed, it's your fault for fucking getting scammed. You know what I mean? Like, yes, maybe the scammer's a bad person also, but like, at what point is it like, you gotta like figure this shit out on yourself because you're an adult.
Totally, yes. They're a bad person for doing that, but that doesn't negate the fact that you let it happen to yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of like both.
And that's what experience is. You let shit happen to yourself. And then hopefully you learn from it. But that's the exact reason why if I hear any top G, if Andrew Tate is like a topic in any conversation I'm having in an unironically, like, there's no way I would be able to sit there and continue through the conversation, because as an adult, if that's someone that has that type of a very deep influence on you, I'm worried for you, because all of these things that he's explaining I feel bad for him because he doesn't quite understand the value of the things that he's saying. If he like being high value doesn't mean being inconsiderate and being an asshole, right? Being high value, like, who wants to pay a lot for an asshole? That's not high value. That's not valuable to me. Being a douchebag and cheating and all of these things, like, that's not valuable, So if someone, like you said it so well. I agree with like 70% of the things he says. Cool. They're not his original thoughts. I'm sure you can probably agree with me on that.
It's been happening from the beginning.
They're not his original thoughts. They never have been, nor is Scientology their original. That's where the comparison is. They've taken other people's science and they've now repackaged it in a way that they can sell themselves, in a way that they can now make it their personality. It's like McDonald's brand, right? It's like how can I make psychology mine, Andrew Tate? Well, cool, I'm going to dominate the space, and I'm going to pander to children, to young teenage boys that don't have a good father figure to look up or don't have a good male influence.
And that's what I think it is guys, either their dad's not there because he dipped, or his dad is a fucking pushover who doesn't like have a backbone.
Or yeah, exactly.
And everybody feels this, like, there's things that he talks about that, like, you can feel that it's true. You're like, oh man, yeah, like, men aren't men anymore. You know what I mean? And you can feel it, but you don't know how to put it into words. And so these, like, guys that don't have a good, like, strong father figure are just like, oh my God, finally someone understands me. And then they're just like, my God, please, Overlord Tate, tell me what to do. I will follow everything you say.
It's an incel incubator.
It's
an incel incubator. All that is you know, I'm being facetious, but also at the same time, that's what it feels like, because it feels like he hates women. And I'm not one of those people that, like, is walking around like, oh, he hates women. No, but I think Andrew Tate acts like he really hates women. And
I think he does on his clips.
Whenever
I watch like a full interview, I'm like, okay, with the context, it's like most of it is like good, and then like I can like tell when he's just like, oh, he's just like exaggerating.
But that's the thing. Maybe honestly he doesn't. But so let me correct myself. Let me correct myself. For the public facing, he does not like it's his brand. Like that's what makes him so valuable, is because everyone else is a simp, but he's not. He's an alpha, right? He doesn't need you. He does. He's a simp. If you want to be with a small little simp, you can. But do you know what I mean? I'll suck my own dick.
Top
you know?
G, baby. Top G. I'm so alpha. I only have sex with guys to assert my dominance over the social hierarchy.
You got it. Exactly. It looks ridiculous. And anybody who subscribes to him and his ideologies, I genuinely feel bad for, because like you said, he does say a lot of valuable things. It's just packaged horribly. And it's so easily misconstrued by people who want to take advantage of whatever it is. Like, he doesn't clarify, you know, he's not going to say, but, you know, make sure that you're doing this in a respectful way that, you know, it's amicable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because that's not going to get him views. Yeah. So, and because of that, now his whole brand is basically like, it's incel-y. Women are it's kind of like what was it? The like just baby makers vibes, you know, or what is it? Birth makers, ready to what's that thing that creepy men say? They say you look like ready to.
I'm not sure.
When you force animals to have babies. What's it called? I'm
not sure.
Oh my God, it's so anyway, moving on, but I don't remember what I was going to say, so moving on.
Let's go next topic. Yeah. What's your type? Let's go looks first, and then we'll move on to personality later.
I really don't like tattoos.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you are tatted up. Usually tattoos like tattoos.
I know. I don't mind them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind them, but I prefer no tattoos.
Interesting.
Why
is that?
I don't really like myself. And I got my tattoos all at a very young age. Like, my first tattoo I got when I was 16. Then my chest piece I got the day I turned 18. I didn't even think about it. I went in and got a chest piece and a half sleeve. And, you know, 10 years later, I'm like, how am I going to get this off of me? Absolutely. But, you know, I really like clean and classy, and I like a clean cut appearance, you know, someone who could very easily fall into your category of like new age men that you were talking about, like the pussy guys, like, or whatever, the very feminine men, because it's always been with these hyper masculine, and I mean that makes sense, right? We've had so many women have experienced so much toxic masculinity that they're just like, let's go the other way, let's just try the other route, let's find someone that's a little more yin than they are yang, right? Mm-hmm. And then I saw, you know, I was watching one of your other episodes, and you were actually discussing that, and how women kind of, it feels like women are then longing for the masculinity that's kind of lacking in this like comfort and softness that they're getting from these like new softer men, mm-hmm. like soft boys. So that's like kind of what I think it is. It's like a soft boy is someone that is not really going to do no harm, you know, and he's safe. He's going to come pick you. He's a good boy. Yeah. He's, and you know, he's.
But is there a part of you that loses? Oh man.
It's okay. I'm fine. Go on.
I can get it.
No, don't hurt him. He's okay. Okay, it's fine. He's fine. Go on.
Okay.
Welcome.
What was I going with this? Oh, do you feel like though, like, okay, with like a software, right? You feel more safe. You feel like, okay, he's not gonna cheat on me. He's not gonna do anything. Mm-hmm. But do you feel like there's like a loss of like the just gut level attraction of just like, like the like I want you, and it's just like, oh, this guy's good for me. He checks all the boxes. Like, I'll take him home to mom. My mom will love him because he's a great guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. For me personally, again, all of this is for me personally. I dated my last long-term relationship. I dated this guy who was like SWAT qualified in shooting.
Was what qualified?
SWAT qualified in shooting, just for fun. You know, he's just really good at shooting and he's really good at racing and he's like this Superman's man. But then he plays piano and then he does face masks with me. And it was kind of this really cool hybrid that I hadn't really seen before, because I'm thinking like, oh, I'm shooting guns one-handed from a moving car and then doing upside down face masks when you get home. You know, that's not really a thing that you expect. But then after I experienced that, before him, it was all pretty much rough boys, right? Mostly. But then once I experienced that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I love this combo of this like really nice yin yang combo. Best of both worlds. And we obviously had our issues. We broke up and we were together for 3.5 years, but we broke up. But regardless, that kind of, I was like, oh, I want that. You know, I kind of want that. I feel like I need that. That's the type of person that I need, is someone that's an all-weather person that I can, you know, can save me from a fire, but then, you know, we can also go to a really beautiful dinner and, you know, grab all the attention in the room. So it's just kind of, I don't know. And this, like, I'm a very sentimental person. And with a lot of extremely masculine men, if they don't have a connection to their feminine side, then I could be really annoying and a baby, you know, because for me, like, I'm emotional and I'm sensitive and I'm passionate and, I'm complicated to understand, you know, I'm a very nuanced person. And I feel like in order for me to feel understood, I would need to be with someone that has the patience and understanding, resonance, whatever it may be, to be able to allow that part of me to feel safe and heard. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that men that are just, you know, a man's man can't do that. I'm just saying that from my experience, it is refreshing for women to be able to go from that primal kind of masculinity to like the softer, more feminine balance. Mm-hmm. But there's, you know, it's a good little restart. And it helps people kind of figure out what they want to, because I didn't even know that existed, to be honest with you.
So when you first met, well, first, how did you guys meet, that relationship?
The 3.5 years one?
Yeah, the both sides.
Both sides
the dominant
one?
and
we met online.
No way. Mm-hmm. Which app?
Match.
Match?
Swear.
What are you, an old person?
Okay, I did that on purpose because you know what?
That's crazy. How old was he?
30. I did match on purpose. Okay, so
that's crazy.
My mom, serial dater, mom, I'm sorry. She was always on Match. Yeah. And there were so many guys that she dated, I'm sorry, that were wonderful. They just weren't for her. But they were really class acts. Like, they were really good dudes. And so...
Because it's like the opposite of the hookup app. So you get all the nice guys.
Right. And at the time, there wasn't Hinge or there was Tinder. There was like Tinder, Plenty of Fish, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like Match, you know? So there's all the hookup sites. And then that was the one that you paid for, because all the other ones were free at the time, right? That was the one that you paid for. And so people took it a little more seriously.
It was branded as like, I want to get married.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, I jumped on there after actually coming from a really bad relationship. And I was like, I want to be with someone that respects me, takes me seriously. Like, it was a pretty abusive relationship that I come from. Was it too soon to jump in? Absolutely. But at the time, that's what I wanted. And so I decided the best place to find somebody that is not going to be like this biggest douchebag I've ever seen in my entire life is probably going to be someone that is wanting to take a partner more seriously, and they're going to probably want to pay for. If they're paying for the service, they're probably not going to want to waste it. So, I just figured to give it a shot. I had one free message. I didn't want to pay for it. I used my one free message. The guy thought I was a bot. And then we ended up dating for 3.5 years. Crazy. Like traveled around the world together. But yeah, he taught me how to shoot. Like he would take me to like the shooting range. Like he spoiled me in like cool ways. Like he would take me to a private shooting range with like all these guns and like kind of like show me how to shoot. And that's a different type of spoiling that's really fun that a lot of girls don't think that like don't get that experience. But that's also because I myself am like a little bit of a tomboy too. So I don't mind, kind of being excited to consider those experiences as me being kind of spoiled. So, but yeah, I just said a bunch of random things.
Interesting. So what originally attracted you to him? Was it the masculine side? Was it just his looks? What was it?
It was his education, and he was very well traveled, and he he seemed to be just very established for a 30-year-old. And he seemed very just independent and reliable. He just seemed like a really solid person. And I was with a really biggest fuckboy you've ever met in your entire life, probably 20 times worse than him before him. So it was like the stability, I think. Mm-hmm. And he did not actually come across with the masculinity. The super masculine side was secondary. It was actually when I first met him, he was very soft. And then once I got to know him, I was like, oh shit, he's kind of a sleeper.
He's like a 6th-round pick.
Yeah. So
coming out of nowhere, Tom Brady.
Yeah, and I loved that. I thought it was the sexiest thing ever. But then that also ruined my expectations a lot because I'm like, oh, sleeper soft boys, where are you?
It's hard to find them, I'm sure. Usually people lead with the masculine side.
Yeah.
So you dated for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Oh my goodness. I guess TLDR is he had healed so much from his own traumas. And then when he had met me, we had similar traumas. And because he felt that he had healed so much, he felt he was qualified to heal me, to save me, right? And I wanted to be saved. But I also warned him very much so that it's very unlikely. But, he was very confident in that. And I almost took advantage of that, being the depressed, messed up, mentally distressed person that I was. He would give me 5 feet and I would take 10, right? Because I basically had no responsibility for my emotions because he was taking such good care of like cradling my emotions since I came from such a bad spot. Mm-hmm. But then it just got to a point where he felt like dad. Not daddy, dad. Like he felt like
he was taking care of a child.
Yeah, like he felt like he was taking care of a child. And I totally understood that. I understand where he's coming from. I had crippling depression, like incredible trauma. I had panic attacks that were sending me to the emergency room. Existential OCD. I still have existential OCD to this day. It's horrible. And that was just, that was exciting for him at first, but then because he had been there.
I see.
So he was like, I know how to fix this. I was there, so I know how I can help you, and you're going to be a beautiful, amazing person once we can just get you to where I am. But he's 8 years older than me.
I see.
So I usually go for older men. Mm-hmm. And I was way above his pay grade.
What do you mean above his pay grade?
Like he wasn't getting paid enough.
Like financially?
Yeah. No. Metaphorically.
Okay.
Like this job's not worth it kind of a thing.
I see.
I don't get paid enough to do this.
I see.
You
He's not getting enough out of it.
Yeah. And that to me, that kind of like triggered something in me where I was like, wait, but you wanted me to be like this. Okay, I'll change. And then for the next like 2 years, basically, or like year, I was like trying to heal myself. And he was a great communicator, but a over communicator. And so that taught me to communicate, but also again gave me another double-edged sword where it's like I overly communicate and I expect other people to be able to articulate themselves exactly how I want them to, or exactly how they want to be heard, right? And that's not realistic. We just ended up resenting each other because the way that he was never enough for me like at the time. Like I was definitely like, he would do one thing, but to me, I would always compare it to, we had it was me, him, and an ex. So like he treated her like gold, and then when it came to me, I was just very insecure from the beginning. Will I ever have what he gave to her? And the answer was no, I wouldn't. So then every time he would do something for me, I would end up comparing in my head to how he treated his partner before me, and how well I treated him and how I deserved in my head. I felt entitled to the same treatment that he had given to someone that treated him far worse. And that just turned into resentment. That turned into being ungrateful, like myself on my part, right? It was hard for me to be appreciative because I was always looking for more. And then he was like, trying and trying, but now he wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. He definitely had his issues, but I would say that the biggest reason was because of him wanting to take on a task that was too strong, and me choosing to give him so much power in that task, like so much responsibility, so much lead, I guess, so to speak.
I see.
Yeah. And so,
do you think, have you ever heard the quote, what's the right person if it's not the right time?
No, but I do love those words.
Do you think that's an accurate description of that relationship? Or do you think still it's not the right person for you?
It's actually really, really uncanny that you say that. I was thinking about that. When we broke up, he told me we should just, we're canvases, and right now we're just kind of making a mess on the canvases, right? We don't have our own pictures painted because we're painting all over each other. Something, I'm butchering it, but you're gonna get it. So what we need to do is maybe one day we can have our own canvases and paint our own beautiful pictures and bring them together to see blah 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 what they can create, right? It was beautiful. I'm saying that because I'm trying to make myself feel better because I'm a little butthurt still, but and he's a lovely person. It has me in his best interest. He was the best ex. He's the best ex I have. Like, we're on really, relatively good terms, very deep. We know each other deeply. And part of me wonders if another time, because we're only evolving, right? Mm-hmm. So what if down the road, would I be able to be with him? Well, then that makes me think of the issues that are not changeable, like the fact that he's 36 and I'm almost 10 years younger than he.
I don't think that's that big of an issue.
So it's not, but I let me explain why. It's because of, again, back to my overanalyzing and me I'm one of those women that feels like the tick, 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 tick. So the problem is that if I'm with someone that is not ready, right? If they're like,
wouldn't it be more likely that he's ready if he's older than you?
Yeah, but the thing is he was and he wasn't.
I see.
And so for me to go back, I mean, I do definitely think, but look, if somehow, tomorrow, and he's 36 years old and this is fine, that's fine. I'm not stressed about that. But it's how long are we going to wait? And then how much older am I going to get? Mm-hmm. And he told me was, this is the first time he's ever been in a relationship, I don't think this is true, that he didn't know what he wanted. I think he knew what he wanted when we first started dating, but then just grew out of it. But that's what he said, as the justification. So I don't know, honestly. I don't know, because right now at this point, I think he was the best suited person for me for the most part, but he still wasn't perfect. There were a lot of situations that I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, this can't be real. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I would say that I believe in that. I just don't know if this situation is that exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Would I be open to it in 10 years? Maybe in 10 years. Damn. Hope not. Hope not.
Like maybe 5 years.
Yeah, maybe 5 years max.
All right, McKenna, we are about out of time. I got a couple rapid fire questions.
Okay, let's go.
Favorite food?
Pasta.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you been to Jones down the street?
No.
So, seriously? It's like the best pasta in LA.
It's not good for me, but I eat a lot of it. Big pulls.
Yeah.
Okay, rapid number 2.
Favorite candy?
Oh, Oh no. The chocolate or like non-chocolate?
Anything.
I like the Dutch chocolate caramels from See's Candy with little almonds in it.
I don't know if I've had those.
Probably not. My grandpa loves those. They're so good.
Interesting. Favorite first date spot or activity?
Ooh, theme park.
Interesting. Six Flags?
Disneyland. Don't tell them. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
I'm total Disney.
I'm a master at Six Flags. You know what's funny?
I love Six Flags though. Let's go. It's wonderful.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I know the routes.
My ex wouldn't go with me.
Why not?
Because he doesn't like
scared of
roller
roller
coasters.
coasters.
I'm just kidding.
No, Six Flags is a blast. You know what's funny is my friends from Wisconsin, I told them one time, like, oh, me and my friends are like planning this Disneyland thing. And they're like, oh, your friends have kids.
Oh no.
And I was like,
Really?
no. And they're like, wait, you're just going to Disneyland as adults just to go? Like what? Say hi to Mickey Mouse?
Nostalgia high.
It made me feel stupid. I was like, wait,
You're like,
is this
yeah,
weird?
actually, my nephew is coming.
It's so normal in LA. Like people,
Yeah.
like adults go, but like from other states, they're like, what the fuck? Like, why are you going as an adult? Like that's a kid's thing.
I like
It's
that
funny.
you say that because I always feel bad being like, I go to Disneyland. But if you think about it, a lot of LA people go to Disney. It's
very
right
normal.
there. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You know? So.
All right, favorite travel destination you haven't been to that you want to go to?
The Amalfi Coast.
Oh, that was very specific.
It's
I
so
like it.
beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
I've never been.
It
I've been
seems-
all over Europe, but never the Amalfi Coast.
Well, we'll go after Six Flags.
Let's do it. Yeah, that's the last one. Where can people find you? Any Instagram shout out or anything?
I mean, I guess kind of on a hiatus, but if people want to follow me, it's Deus X McKenna.
Deus.x.
Sorry, yeah, Deus.x.McKenna, like Deus Ex Machina, but my name's McKenna, so.
Well, this has been fun. We'll have to do round 2 sometime.
Totally. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening.